guess let's make this fun. Hello, hello.
Hi there.
Hey, how are you, John?
Hey, John.
Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so we are ready to begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our educational panel. We are very excited and happy to be here to give you an introduction to the Web3, blockchain, and the metaverse innovation. Welcome again to the last forum of the Travel Tech USA and Canada, the largest educational event worldwide, 100% free to professionals of hospitality, destinations, travel, and tourism. It is a pleasure to host this panel with you guys. Thank you to the sponsors for your support and commitment with high caliber education to our trade. To know more about Travel Tech, visit www.traveltech.space, Travel Tech on LinkedIn, and www.traveltechacademy.com. Our goal is to stimulate your curiosity about this web evolution. We will show you initial ways to implement this innovation and bring new benefits for the travelers. I want to introduce a little bit about myself. My name is Jhon Ruiz, and I have been mostly my background has been the intersection between technology and commercial disruptive activities. I started it in Visit Orlando, the DMO, followed by managing white label distribution, a channel in Turica Holidays. Then I moved on to introduce and develop the meta search white label distribution channel in Turica Holidays. Then I moved to develop meta search via Skyscanner, and today I work for Kiwi.com, creating B2B partnerships around its unique virtual interlanding proposition. Most importantly, during the last year and a half, I have been very passionately learning and researching and studying the Web3 concepts and the blockchain technology. Since then, I have fallen in love with the use cases, and this year I double did my education by studying a Master of Science in Blockchain and Digital Currency. Now, let us introduce our wonderful group of panelists. I will ask each of you to please give us a little bit of your background and also a little information on how did you guys get involved initially with this kind of technologies. Shall we begin with Jenny?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you again so much to Travel Tech for having Tipalti and I be a sponsor of the conference. I'm really excited to be here today. So my name is Jeannie Sabaroff. I'm our VP of Global Sales at Tipalti. Tipalti is a global payables automation solution. And so we work with customers all over the world automating their payments. I actually got my start in travel. And so that's why a little bit about why I'm here today. I started off my career working for Flight Center and Liberty Travel, which is their marquee logo in the United States. Did that for quite some time, then ventured off on my own as an independent travel agent, and then eventually made my way into the SaaS world, and that's how I ended up at Tipalti. In particular, I was very passionate about working for a software company that could help the travel industry. And so we work with lots of different customers in all sorts of different industries, but in particular, travel, I think, has some unique challenges in their back office that Tipalti is really able to help with. I live in Toronto. I just moved here from California. I'm originally a Philadelphia native. So I see some of you are coming in from Florida, so it must be nice to be in the sun. But I'm here in Toronto to open up our latest and greatest sales hub in North America. So thank you again for having me.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Jenny. Shall we move with Kristina?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristina Leburd. I am the founder and CEO of VIAGEUR and the VVIP token. VIAGEUR is a travel app that helps travelers plan out their activities and keep them safe by enhancing their personalization and security. One key thing that we have done in the last year or so is we actually launched a token, what we call VVIP. VVIP is a Web3 loyalty program that allows all companies from either stage, Web2 or Web3, to get access to a community. First, about my background, I'm actually an IP attorney first and foremost, so that is where my first initial interest came from, is understanding this new technology. For myself, I worked with a number of travel brands as their counsel, and then began my journey as a travel tech founder since then. One key thing that has really interested me about blockchain, of course, is not only from a technology standpoint, but of course, the new use cases that we see, which is why we decided to implement this new opportunity through a token as a loyalty program. I am from the great and cold city of Boston, so they're fluctuating and going through many different ways of which season they want to stick with right now. But overall, I am really excited to be on this panel today and discuss more about how more companies can begin their transition into Web3.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kristina. Shall we move on with Brian?
Thank you, John. And I want to thank Travel Tech as well as EV Hotels for their wonderful media sponsorship. So Brian J. Esposito, I'm the CEO and founder of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises. It's a 20-year in the making holding company, wholly owned by me. At the top level, there's over 85 companies now in its holdings. I have over 150 joint ventures I've accumulated over around the world, and proudly operating in over 25 different industries. As it relates to travel and technology, I've been heavily involved in these spaces, again, throughout my entire career. Some of my holdings include Centered Travel Wellness, which is a travel destination experiences all relating to health and wellness with over 55 million members in its ecosystem. I'm honored to be part of the EV Hotel brand with Ken Patel as the Chief Strategic Officer. Also in our holdings are food and beverage brands like Le Cirque. And what I've been doing over the throughout my entire career as far as technology, it's always being forward thinking, always building, whether it's technologies, IP, product solutions, or services that I know the market is demanding, and properly manufacturing them, developing them, and launching them into the right channel so they can be sustainable. I build companies that have positive earnings. I'm not a big unicorn guy. I'm a guy that likes to work with companies to make sure that they have positive earnings, sustainable growth, healthy growth, and have a great story to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. So honored to be here, excited to be on this panel and to talk with the great community that you have.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brian. Alrighty, shall we continue with Ken? Ken Patel?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And obviously, Venetius, Natalie, everybody's so great. We're honored to obviously not EV Hotel only sponsor, but our Hospitality 360. It'll be live in about an hour. So you guys don't want to miss that one. But a little bit about me. This is my 26th year in the hospitality industry. Graduated from the #1 school in the world. That's why my MBA, International Hospitality Management. I was CEO in New York City for 7 years. Kind of done it all. But the creation of EV Hotel for the last 3 years, and we just launched it in September of 2021. It's the world's first crypto and technology hotel brand. Complete automation, still have the human touch. We just announced a few weeks ago the partnership with the crypto exchange being CDX, Chicago Digital Mercantile. And that actually will create the first ever trade floor inside of a hotel where you can buy, sell, trade crypto, providing the ultimate experience. It's taking the traditional model of the industry that we have and the brands that we have and turning into a non-traditional, no front desk, re-energizing the fitness center, about 18 smart devices in each guest room, business centers in each guest room, individual secured internet connections in each guest room. So, and that's what you see. The first one right behind me is right there, downtown Phoenix. Thank you for having me.
Very good. Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, shall we continue with Lyon?
Hi, thank you very much for having me. My name is Leon Hardgrave. I'm the CEO of PINKTADA. So my background is I am a techie. I spent my younger years as a techie. Went to get my MBA at Wharton, came out and became a trader. And I was an oil trader for about 15 years, which is maybe the hottest thing now. It's replaced crypto for the first time as the hot thing is to be in oil, but I'm no longer there. I'm now I started a couple of blockchain companies. One that's operating in Europe called VACT, which is the largest blockchain platform used in the energy space. And I'm now CEO of PINKTADA. We are a hotel booking company. We're building a NFT-driven backed hotel booking site that allows both the ability to have 3D immersive interactions with all hotels. So you can teleport from hotel room to hotel room and actually go visit the hotel room that you're going to be booking and kind of change the travel experience. And then we've actually turned non-refundable reservations into tradable products, sort of like StubHub does with tickets. You can actually go onto our platform and buy and sell hotel rooms. So if you make a reservation that's non-refundable, you can't use it, you can go and sell to somebody else in the marketplace. We just have started our soft launch now with our first series of hotels. We have a hard launch here in about a month. So hopefully we'll be learning more about us, but it's an honor to be here. And thank you to Travel Tech for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to talking about tech.
Excellent, excellent. So we'll finish with the round of introduction, and let us start with our panel educational side. So, from a technical point of view, blockchain subject is very deep. Therefore, the idea is to focus more on what the technology does and what it benefits it brings. Very, very little on the tech side. I would advise that anyone interested in going deeper, please reach out to us directly, and we can give you guidance on how to find those answers. I will start with a 7 minutes overview without slides, so please bear with me. Then we will move on to start answering questions with our panelists. Please also collaborate with us, the audience, sending us your questions, doubts, or even contributions so that we can make this session very useful for everyone and their education. Alrighty. So I'm going to begin with a very basic question, and I'm going to start to answer those questions until we get to the panelists. Why blockchain was initially launched? It was launched in 2009 as an answer to the lack of trust on the banking system, on the governments, and other financial institutions due to their behavior and lack of accountability throughout the 2007 and 2008 financial crisis. It came as a way to support our need for trust, for trusting each other, move trust from centralized and risky entities into digital community self-governance spaces. Probably you already have heard about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and crypto were the first use cases enabled by blockchain technology. as a way to have a trusted, global, and public money system. This was followed then by decentralized finance by 2018-17, then followed by NFTs, and now it is a very high speed supporting metaverse concepts, DAOs, and decentralized autonomous organizations. As a very interesting metric, in the beginning of 2021, there were 200 million crypto users. By the end of the year, global crypto users went up to 300 million, so a 50% acceleration. And the estimation is that by 2032, demand will be about 3.4 billion users. So maybe it's a good idea to get on board soon. Second question, in very simple terms, what is a blockchain? It is a network system of recording information, transactions, and digital automated contracts in a way that makes it difficult or impossible to change, hack, or cheat the system. A blockchain is essentially a digital layer of transactions that is duplicated and distributed globally across an entire network of computers. It can be a public blockchain, a private blockchain, or a consortium-based blockchain. In other words, it is a way for people and businesses to share data and transact freely, even when they don't necessarily trust each other or know each other directly. For example, in today's industry networks, as well as in the travel industry, it is very common for participants to duplicate the efforts to build and keep the ledger of transactions or activities. Also, there's a lot of efforts to separately save and secure that data on each side. There is also a middleman taking some responsibility and coordinating activities and generating trust among the business participants. Here at scale, there is a lot of accumulated costs impacting margins and prices. Also a lot of waste in the process. Also a slow settlement, trust issues, and trust dependency on central entities. Blockchain comes to resolve this by having one single ledger of the history of the interactions, where trust is embedded and created by the technology instead of the middleman. And the ledger is automatically shared and visible to all the participants. Public blockchains are also immutable, where the history of the transactions cannot be modified by a bad actor. Now, let us briefly cover the internet evolution, going from Web 1 to Web 2 and then Web 3, which is highly enabled by blockchain technology. So Web 1, it was mostly about reading. Indeed, it helped us get a lot of easier access to massive amounts of information. Brick and mortar businesses move on to the internet to present their products. Then Web 1 evolved into Web 2. And Web 2 today is about all the apps that you have in your phone, those that you use the most. Your shopping apps, your social media, your communication apps. Those, we give them our phone numbers, credit cards, password, emails, XYZ. Most importantly, our user activity data. Those apps and companies know a lot about ourselves. And somehow users still trust them. Or perhaps there was no other alternative. Additionally, Web 2 is also about uploading our photos, videos, creating a network effects with our likes, with our comments, with our reviews, and all that data belongs to the apps, and the app and the data sits on their private servers as well. So it is a web built by the users, but ended up being owned by a few and very large companies. It is a centralized web. Most importantly, users have no control over their data and very little financial benefit from it. In contrast, Web 3 is coming to offer a new model where personal data and assets will be recorded in the blockchain for users to own and control it, allow them to freely move access and data from one platform to even another platform. Web 3 is being built, and it is also called the Internet of Digital Ownership, the Internet of Money, the Internet of Builders and Creators, the Open Web. As an example, imagine users having full control of their airlines and hotels' loyalty points, being able to redeem them in a very freely way across the web, exchange them for cryptocurrencies or NFTs, or staking them to get interest payments. In the long run, Web3 will have many large companies that will be decentralized entities whose profits and decision-making process is shared among a large number of token holders, thanks to tokenization and automated community governance. Moreover, in top of blockchain, there will be AI, virtual reality, AR, the Internet of Things as a key developments for very powerful use cases, such as today the very popular concept of the metaverse that we will discuss later on. To finalize, let me cover a few very interesting use cases for the travel industry. Um, in general terms, this tech is very, very early. We're very early stages yet in our sector, which is good, which is meaning a lot of blue oceans and opportunities for everyone. Um, Use cases can be divided into those that aim at transforming Web 2 models into Web 3 models, and then those that put the user at the center and move to build completely new value propositions that actually take advantage of the blockchain features and capabilities. So here are a few examples. There have been a few attempts since 2017 to move travel content supply and the settlement into blockchains to bring costs down and accelerate cooperation. Another use case is cryptocurrency payments for travel bookings. It's still a niche proposition since cryptocurrencies are not yet used for at scale for payments, neither a medium of exchange, but we will get there for sure. There is also a very ambitious and experimental project aiming at creating a decentralized entity organization for short-term rental accommodations. Imagine an Airbnb, but owned directly by its most important participants, a place where the host and the guest transact directly, no middlemen providing market coordination, host and guests being co-owners of the whole platform and getting financial benefits as token holders. As you can see, it is a very, very interesting technology, which for sure will get into the travel sector and industry one way or another. I hope this overview helps and helps everyone start connecting the dots. And now let us open the stage for our panelists to contribute some more or ask any questions or give their ideas about this initial basic introduction. Anybody?
Well, one thing I'll add that always concerned me now in the recent time is I've been working in the metaverse and Web 3.0 for over 5 years with a lot of holdings like Somnium Space, which built, I think, one of the better of the VR worlds. And it was like pulling teeth to get brands and experiences in there up until the last 6 or so months. And now every brand and IP wants to just throw themselves in there. And because it's a cool buzzword, to me, that's not the right strategy. That's not the right thing to make. If you don't have a plan, resources, and the right team attached to your brand, Ken and I have compared it much like to when social media first launched. All these brands saw the massive movement happening there, but they didn't have the right talent or employees or staff at those companies to properly handle the brand inside of that new world. So right now, my biggest concern is with these brands. Take a beat. Make sure you properly strategize. Does it make sense for your brand to be in there? Is there a loop back to real life? Because you still have to go and stay at a hotel room. You want to pour a real drink. You want to order a real cheeseburger. You still have to live life and move commerce and move money around and build businesses. But how do you take advantage of building a community, enhancing the guest experience, whether in the real life and the metaverse, as well as the staff? You want to make sure that you're applying that all those resources, time, and money when you're going into the metaverse. That how does your entire brand fit in there? And again, it's got to relate back to real life.
Yeah, indeed. There's been definitely a lot of attention to the metaverse especially since Facebook changed the name to Meta, and everybody wants to jump in. Great. Anyone else?
Yeah, actually, I want to also add is that there is the question, right? Going back to Brian's point about infrastructure, right? The idea of, exploring this new world, the metaverse, Web3 in general. What does that actually mean for you? And so I think it's a lot to want to be associated with that. But I think community is a really big aspect of Web3. Those who are well versed in Web3 or who have been exploring cryptocurrency and things of that nature know when a brand really is truly part of that Web3 ethos, which is we're all going to make it, versus them just trying in to get in. So really having that infrastructure or having that in to ensure that there is a set community behind your offering, which should be really an in real life offering. I think at this point, people really need to tie that back in together to ensure that you have that in place before you can really say as part of your offering, it is an actual Web3 experience.
Totally. Alrighty. Shall we move on with a question for Ken? Ken, how will blockchain help the hospitality industry?
You said how would blockchain?
How will blockchain help the hospitality industry?
I mean, in multiple ways. I mean, the number one way is fraud prevention. I mean, when you look at it, we have so much fraud. I mean, we talk about credit card fraud daily, chargebacks. That's not fraud, but I mean, that's obviously going to save on the bottom line there for hotel owners. And, we would be eliminating almost your, 3 to 4% on your merchant services. And I mean, there's just savings left and right. And for the guest to understand that their cards are not compromised, right? That's just one piece. I mean, accounting, you can have the accounting piece there. You can have kind of put all the line items with the vendors as well. So and when we talk about hospitality, it's never one component. Hospitality is not a one component system, and it's not a one component industry. We have multiple departments. We have diverse amount of employees, onboarding, all of these things that have to go in it. How do we get them all to talk all at once, right? So I think blockchain helps with that. And it helps in multiple ways. I mean, we're talking about how does it resolve the OTA issue? Nobody wants to pay 15 to 20% on the commission fees. What is the thing that resolves it? Blockchain, hands down. It's going to, and I know the OTAs understand that currently, that this is what's going to happen. And I'm sure they're going to take the right procedures to see how internally they can fix that. But currently, blockchain, when we talk about in 2018, there was $2.1 billion spent on blockchain. I couldn't tell you what that is today, but I know it's not anywhere close to that. I think what we're talking about, even what Brian said earlier, and I reference a lot of that, and it's the evolution of the web. Right now, what we're doing in hospitality, especially with EV Hotel, it's the evolution of hospitality. When we talk about evolution of the web, we talk about Netscape, Net Zero, and it just scales up from there. We haven't had that in hospitality, and I think the time is now, and the future with it is here. So blockchain has a lot to do where this industry and the outlook of this industry is in the next 24 months.
Totally. Ken, just double dipping a little bit there. Is there anything in the roadmap in regards to, as you mentioned, trying to reduce the cost from your end on your EV hotels regards around the OTAs? You have something coming up or long-term plans?
Oh, absolutely. I would be lying to you if I said no, but we absolutely do. I mean, it's what I call a disruption to the OTA market, So, this is what we work on. I mean, this is what we're doing is, look, we're not going to pay those 15, 20%, even though we have great relationships there, whether the guys at Expedia, Priceline, and Trivago and other places. and they're still our friends. But look, friends are gonna. It's a business end of the day, and we have to look at how is it going to be good for our owners, for our franchisees, and this is what we have. We have blockchain technology that'll be coming out later this year, and the world's going to be very excited by it.
Very good. And lastly, to continue with you and end, when you talk about blockchain around your network, your hoteliers community, what is the initial feedback? Is it understanding? Is it already kind of, okay, let's adopt it? Or what can you think? What do you hear?
I would say right now, what you have with crypto, as of a November report in the United States, I'm just speaking about, and there were 189 million crypto users. People are like, how's that possible? There's kids that are like 15. Yeah, they're making NFTs, so
They're making more money than us.
yeah, 12-year-olds are making NFTs. So I think it's coming around. We're having the right things happen. We have a company like BAC that partnered with MasterCard to accept crypto payments. You have the Staples Arena change its name to crypto.com. 4 different exchanges bought Super Bowl ads. So all of these things are coming out. Miami has its own coin. And multiple athletes, celebrities accept payments in crypto and Bitcoin now. So I think what you're seeing here is the acceptance of it. It's getting there, right? Nobody wanted to accept Google. Nobody wanted to accept Microsoft. It took a while for people to even understand, look, don't use Internet Explorer, use Google Chrome. So I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, over time, we're going to see this. It's just not going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ken. Anyone want to add something else there? Ryan?
Oh, he's waiting for his microphone, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
there you go.
You muted all of us, so I couldn't just jump in. Just one thing to the point where Ken was talking about the Trivago, Expedia, and those platforms. There was a time where you need them to be able to pull an audience and fight for someone to choose your location. What we've done with one of our NFT projects known as BAPES, which is partnered with EV Hotel, we built the largest organic NFT project in the world. And we did that without spending a single dollar in marketing or advertising. This world and that community are salivating for a place to go where they can experience NFTs, they can experience utilizing crypto for payments, for just being in an environment with one another. When I go to these conferences like in Miami, there's hundreds of these siloed little parties of all of this NFT, crypto, blockchain community, because they just want to be together and talk about this stuff. So when you start to build a building that's completely focused on that, you become a magnet, and that's what will drive people to that building. You don't need those other platforms in the hopes of getting somebody to book your room. That's the other thing that frightens me about hotel chains outside of EV. It's very easy for an EV hotel to build something brand new from the ground up. It's a brand new concept hotel. It's very difficult for the Hiltons and Marriotts of the world to do that, because it's like moving the Titanic, right? Also, again, if they just plug in something that's crypto or blockchain, it doesn't connect with the community. So most of the news that's coming out is basically partnering with a merchant processor that accepts crypto. That's not really exciting for this community. They want to be able to experience that entire environment with all the current bells and whistles that it has to offer. So, that's one of the positive things about the likes of an EV hotel, being able to not be able to need those platforms anymore, because we already built a big community that's just waiting for the buildings to go up.
Yeah. Ken, you want to say something? No. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that, look, what we've done here, and even what Brian was saying, what BAPES has done, is just amazing. The ambassadors, the utility we have behind it, an EV hotel, even partnering with BAPES and BAPES partnering with the EV hotel. We're the first hotel brand to go into the metaverse, or will be going to the metaverse. And we just launched the first ever NFT rewards program. These are things that we have to get ready for. we have to get ready for. I mean, I can understand people saying that they don't know what it is. And I think they have to stop believing that it's not real. This is real. This is absolutely real. I've been a crypto investor since 2013. I knew it was real then. I'm going to tell everybody it's real now. So, and this is what's happening, and we have to change. And we have to get used to it. You don't have to. I'm not going to say believe it, but just look at the savings. Look at how it's going to help you in your daily life. Look at how it's going to help you and your family and friends. And then how is it going to help you with your investments? When you talk about BAPES is creating a project where it's going to be able to fund you better than an institution and even a financial institution, and help startups. So this is what this community is doing. This is what this exact community is about to do and will do for just many years.
Yeah. And even to add more to that, Ken, in regards to the adoption, we just got to think about our kids, our 10, 5 years
Yeah.
old. Maybe or maybe older people, they don't really get it yet, but our kids, this is going to be normal for them.
It
And
is.
5, 10 years from now, 12, that's going to be just the way to be. And
And-
then, go ahead.
Yeah, and I would tell you this as well, is that you're seeing the kids right now, whether they're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, it doesn't matter what age they are. They understand it. Every parent I talk to, I'm going to say 80%, okay? 80% of the parents I speak about when it comes to my hotel brand or what I'm doing is like, oh yeah, I love the way your hotel looks, but my son loves the fact you have crypto inside. My son loves the fact that you're doing work with NFTs, or my daughter, and that's what's happening. Now they're understanding the hotel brand because not what it looks like behind you, but they understand it because there's a crypto component, there's an NFT component,
Yeah.
and they know exactly what it's about. And it's funny. I'll give you a quick story here. 2-minute story is that I was talking to a father, interested in investment into EV Hotel, and he's like, I want to set up a call, and I'm like, okay. Somehow his son comes on the call. He's like, my son wanted to get into this call, and I'm like, has he ever been on any of your calls? He's like, no, this is the one that he wanted to be on. So he's never been on any sort of investor call in his life, but he wanted to jump into this one. So this is what it's doing for the younger generation, right? It's getting them involved even more. So, and I think that's great. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Great. I really like your project. It's quite interesting,
Thank
connecting the real world and then even search or book in the metaverse and then
Yeah.
go and experience even further when you get to the hotel and you see all this crypto world inside the hotel.
Well, and I also want to add a lot of the things we currently do. Obviously, Brian has a big part in it. We couldn't have been here so far to where we are because of Brian and what he does best, and you can see he's a man of a lot of businesses. So he understands how business evolves. He understands how a community evolves, and we're obviously grateful to have Brian on board to even scale it further.
Perfect. All right, Ken. Great points. I understand you got to leave us early. You have another show to present and so forth. So feel free to drop whenever you need to.
Okay, perfect. And I think Brian's gonna probably be dropping as well at the same time. So, but we hope to see you guys. If you get a chance to watch the Babe special, our show's Hospitality 360 on YouTube. It's the #1 show in hospitality. So whenever you guys get a chance, it was a pleasure to meet Leon, Christine, and Jeannie. And John, thank you for all your time. And thank you, Travel Tech.
Thank you, Ken. Okay. Brian, do you want to add anything else? Since we know that you also have a very top deadline in regards to the metaverse and what do you do in your services?
Yeah, so what we do is, again, we build the worlds that we bring the IP and the brands and the experiences into. So one of the interesting projects we launched with our BAPES community, again, BAPES is an NFT project designed with probably the best look and feel of an artistic and animation. We utilize Disney, Pixar, 21st Century Fox animators and designers and artists. So if you've seen our work, it definitely stands out. We hope to set a precedent as to the next level of these NFT artworks and what they look like to provide exceptional value on the art side. And then we launched the MetaVestor Fund, and what we're doing is all the certain amount of the proceeds that come in from the NFT purchases and trades and sales go into the fund to invest in Web 3.0 companies, startups, projects, or technologies. Where it got really fun is de-risking it. We also wrap that BAPES MetaVestor Fund with 25 of what I believe are the most exceptional business people from around the world, all focused in incredible industries like media, music, technology. We have risk management. So we have people from Meta, actually. We have the co-founder of ETV, Larry Namer, as one of our ambassadors. We have Charlie Walk, which is an amazing music executive that's been on Idol as a coach for many years, or a host. And now what you do is those companies or those startups that you invest or you metavest in from our fund, they get their financial resources, which is great, but they also get that direct access to CEOs and conglomerates that you wouldn't have that. You'd have a bunch of middle people trying to work your way into those companies. You'd have all these extra costs involved. So what we've done is we really created a way for startups to survive and startups to succeed with the capital, with the giant community that we built, and also the executives that are going to help support those startups to make sure that they can succeed. So one of which is what we've done, which is pretty interesting, is one of my holdings is Starjets. It's a public company, but it's a very large private jet charter entity. It's run by Ricky Sittimer, seasoned CEO and executive in private aviation. So what we've done is there's a fleet of over 15,000 aircraft that are in Starjet's inventory that they can put people on to fly them around the world. That's cool. That's pretty much an elite status of people. But now we're going to utilize Starjets and BAPES and the metaverse to replicate those planes and digitize them planes, create a new revenue source for the owners of those jets, which are very cost heavy. They have the cost of the plane, the maintenance, the fuel, the staffing, the piloting, the certification, everything you can think of. It's a very cost heavy asset. But if you can monetize it in the metaverse in multiple ways, which we're proving, take that plane, put it in the metaverse through our channels, and have people be able to experience them, which they've never been able to experience before. But where it gets even funner is those planes are usually owned by very important people. I'll put the word important in quotes. They're athletes, celebrities, influencers, business people. So now if you can sit on that plane in VR with somebody you may admire or idolize or want to spend time with because you bought one of our NFTs, well, that helps monetize that asset. It helps enhance the guest experience, whether they're in the metaverse. And then, like I said before, loop it back into real life. So if our NFT continues to excel in utility and value, it opens up the opportunity for those NFT holders to be able to participate and take a ride on those private jets to somewhere around the world. And hopefully maybe even get to take a ride on those jets with the owner where they were building the relationship in the metaverse and in VR. So proving that concept out, you rinse and repeat it for all different industries, like with hotel and hospitality. Obviously, Ken, who you've spoken with and met, EV Hotel is part of that chain and that ecosystem. The CEO of the One Hotel, Baccarat, Virgin as well, and Treehouses, Raul Leal, dear friend, also a business ambassador in our BAPES project, replicating those properties into the metaverse. Same exact storyline that I told you with the private jets, always enhancing the NFT holders' experience, bringing new utility to those NFTs, and then having some monetization in the metaverse, but also real fiat currency monetization in real life, because that's not going away anytime soon. People still need hard cash or some sort of traditional banking to be able to pay for things.
Excellent, Brian. Thank you so much. Definitely, that will help a lot with the adoption for the industry.
Thank you so much, Jhon. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to meet everybody. Good luck with the rest of the conference, and hopefully we all can do some good work together soon.
Alrighty, sounds good. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Stay well. Bye.
Great, you too. Alrighty. Let's continue with the question for Kristina.
Yes.
Yeah. Kristina, what will be the biggest changes to travel in Web3?
One thing that we have seen definitely in the last couple of months is that there's going to be a shift I think, a lot more in more community-centered solutions. And I think we're already starting to see that, as Ken and Brian mentioned earlier, about the necessity of community really pushing us within the travel industry to begin to build. I think a lot of times when we're looking at marketing, we're looking at it from a very much of an overarching goal, and then making that goal fit, or finding those people who can fit that particular goal. I think what's going to happen now is there's going to be a honing in, not only with our businesses as we continue to conduct business with each other, but then also figuring out how do we meet the community's specific goals. So first thing I think everyone knows, or at least there's a greater understanding that cryptocurrency will be one of the biggest adoptions that will first come, mostly because of, again, the community in of itself being one of the biggest drivers for making that available. Adoption is actually worldwide for cryptocurrency, let's just say that. And it is really interesting when you think about the statistics of that. It really are emerging markets that have been adopting cryptocurrency as payment at one of the highest rates. I mean, even the top 5 are Vietnam, India, Pakistan, Ukraine, and Kenya. And then, of course, the US being actually a little bit further down that list, which actually falls pretty much in line with what our community looks like for VVIP. We're like down the line of, I will have to say, Indonesia being one of the biggest drivers for our community itself too. So we're definitely going to see a lot more of a push to cryptocurrency being adopted in the majority of our platforms. I think that's going to be the biggest change. The second thing I think is going to happen is that a lot of brands are going to be looking at their own native token creation. So one thing that we have seen is that there is this idea of a loyalty token, as we've done with VVIP, and seeing how much we can now bring the community around a particular token and adding utility to that token. So for instance, we have seen that with these communities particularly, they're always looking for deals. They're always looking for an opportunity to get access to something that no one else has. And so the idea of using a crypto token or an NFT actually allows that sense of ownership, allows that sense of belonging within a community. And also an idea of trust, because it's open. One key thing that we're seeing with blockchain is that it is an open way for everyone to see what is happening within that particular blockchain a company is using. So allowing that opportunity for the community to see that transparency will definitely be a new way of growth, I think, in travel when we're looking at Web3. And it's interesting too about the idea of NFTs, but I think it's been thrown around a lot, but to kind of break it down a little bit further about what its actual uses could be. Not only will it be a collectible, which I think what we've seen a lot when we're thinking about OpenSea, and we're thinking about, the big ones that we've seen with the different collections and all the different monkeys and all of that. But we're going to be seeing it as a means of access, or as a way for those to flash their badge, almost as a means of saying, I'm part of this group. One thing that we're really excited about as well too, as we begin to explore this area, is using NFTs as a calling card to our VVIP community. And it's been really, really helpful. It's actually been almost a gallivanting cry for those who are really interested in participating and being part of that community. So we're going to see, really, I think, a lot more brands understanding the use of NFTs and using it as an access key to special things that they would like to set aside for different communities. We're already seeing that with Adidas. We're already seeing that with Nike, creating these particular NFTs and collectibles, and then using that as a driving force into new specialized products. So, and I think Ken mentioned as this earlier as well too, the idea of using private blockchains within our own operations is going to be, I think, a new driving force. Security being the biggest issue. I think the majority of travelers are now being very much self-aware about where their information is going, or at least being more aware than they were before initially, when advent of going online and booking really first came about. And so I think providing that additional level of saying to a potential customer, your information is going to be protected under blockchain, in that your data stays with you regardless of where you are. So you plug it in, you use our services, and then you plug out, it always stays with you. And so it really almost alleviates the concern for any business, really, to say that, we've done X, Y, and Z. And I'm actually really interested to see what happens next when more companies do adopt more private blockchains for protection of data, how much the privacy laws that we already have in place, such as GDPR and those like that, are going to react to that new implementation. It's I don't call myself a legal scholar, but I do keep my eyes on particular legal implications of certain things. And so it's going to be really interesting seeing governing bodies like the EU react to more companies implementing blockchain. There actually might be a lessening of regulations because of the fact of the encrypted nature of blockchain. So I think we're going to see a number of different things happen over the next several years. As you said earlier, John, it's moving very fast. There are new things happening every single day. We're all learning every single day. I don't think there's one person on this earth who could really consider themselves to be an expert because of the nature of it. But by having these conversations now and almost future-proofing your company by thinking about what you could do, or using particular solutions to give yourself an opportunity to step into that world when you're fully ready, I think is a great way to ensure that you will have a future in Web3.
Totally. Anyone want to contribute something else on those lines? Lyon, we can hear you. I think you're muted. Now.
There you go.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Sorry. I mean, I'll just jump in on that. I'll probably speak more to this later, but look, Web3. When people say Web3, they are specifically usually talking about decentralized, ownership, blockchain, tokenomics. And I actually happen to think, because I've dealt with a lot of industries, like there aren't that many use cases where it really works. And to be honest, in the hospitality space, I'm not sure there's that many use cases where there's a huge need for it. Like I think about the problems that either hotels have or that travelers have when they're trying to get their hotels. And there's a lot of problems out there. There's no question about it that need to be fixed. And then you look at these technologies, and a lot of times we're trying to kind of shoehorn use cases into these technologies. So I think, if you're talking about strictly Web3, just the tokenomics and the blockchain part of it, I think there will be some things that emerge where you're solving real problems. And it turns out that this is a good way of doing that. But I think there's actually a lot of other emerging technologies that will have a lot bigger influence. So some of the metaverse stuff, for example, which is maybe it's part of Web3 or it's not family call Web3. But like the metaverse, the immersive virtual reality thing is kind of that next level of technology that's coming that will have a much more profound effect on hospitality than necessarily whether or not there's a token for something or not, which is still, there's still a lot of people trying. There's a lot of, I would say, in the token space, if you go into that space, probably 95% of token projects are kind of garbage projects. They're projects that people are trying to attach tokens to something that doesn't really need tokens, and it's not really a good project. And so with hospitality, it's tricky. There's some places where there's good use cases for it, but maybe not for the tokenomics so much as some other technology.
Yeah.
So I actually would like to jump in that. So I actually agree. Like I think Web3 is actually quite a large overarching umbrella, right? We're including AR into that. We're including VR and the metaverse in that, along with tokens and NFTs. I do think, though, and because you talk about tokens, because of the aspect of what we're building is actually generated around a token. But the way that we've done it is that we're creating a loyalty program. And the loyalty program is that if you're a token holder, then you get access to certain things. It is a movement beyond just simply, you know, points that you would hold with a particular company, but allowing that token then to be used on different platforms. So adding a monetary value to that token, which then could be used in any, you know, use case for that matter. So if you want to use it as cash, you can use it as cash. If you want to use it as a means for payment within our platform, you absolutely could. So I think there definitely is a new evolution that people need to figure out as to how that works for them.
Yeah.
But, you know, I agree. I think that AR is going to be, I think, the most biggest aspect of Web3 that's going to be one that will have a lot more use cases. And if we're thinking about Decentraland and different, you know, VR real estate that's going to be really sold out, or at least being sold at a, you know, a rising rate, it's going to be interesting to see how those within hospitality, but then not only hospitality, but, you know, throughout travel in general, really begin to utilize this new technology as a means for new ways for engagement.
Yeah, so what you're saying there, you're right. That use case you guys are using, the access use case, is probably one of the best use cases. You know, and I don't know if everybody's aware of that who's listening. You know, one of the things that people are doing with NFTs, an NFT has by definition a limited supply of something, right? So it's sort of exclusive. You can own one, you have exclusivity. And so you may have heard of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is one of the kind of hotter NFTs that's sold for the most money, but it's not just a picture or kind of a ridiculous cartoon picture of an ape face. If you have that, you actually potentially can get access to very exclusive parties on certain yachts around the world. At least that's my understanding. I don't have a Bored Ape, and I don't know. I've never been to a yacht party, so I'm just speaking secondhand here. But that fact is, there's a coolness factor, that there's an exclusivity factor that says I want to be part of this exclusive club. And so if you can define an exclusive club, something that people really want to be a part of, then this is almost like an entry ticket to be part of that. So you see something in stadiums. Stadiums, if you want to buy seats to a ticket, you first have to buy a seat license. You have to buy a seat license, then you can buy the fancy box seats. You pay for the seat license first before you have the right to buy those box seats. So giving people the NFT to have access to something to purchase later is one of the use cases that's been looked at by a lot of people, like luxury brands. If you buy the NFT of the luxury brand, you have the right to buy next year's bag. If you don't have that NFT, you don't have that ticket. You can't even buy. You don't have access to what's coming next. And so to the extent hotels have really exclusive events like that or programs, the idea of selling people NFTs basically allows you to monetize it double. You can get people to have this tradable right to have access to this other cool thing they still have to spend more money on. But there's not that many use cases out there where people are that excited about something that they're willing to go through that. So it has to be something where it really is very high demand. You're kind of milking that demand by making it super exclusive that people have to own this token to have access to it.
I really love all the conversation about NFTs. It is wonderful, because I also believe it is one of the best use cases for the hotel and aviation and many other participants in the industry. It is there. There is already a lot of use cases. It will be quite if hotel brands start doing some research, there will be a lot of good opportunities around the NFTs. And as Lyon mentioned before, on the blockchain side, yeah, it is a long shot. It's not, I believe, because there are already processes in place that somehow work. Maybe along the road, when some blockchain are built specifically and from scratch, specifically for hotel distribution or aviation distribution, then that will be the right time. But for now, NFTs, metaverse, I think will be the best highlights in regards to use cases for our industry for now. Okay, and Jeannie, anything you want to contribute or?
My expertise truly is in more traditional payment facilities and fiat currencies. But as I'm listening, and I have some experience with NFTs and blockchain, and I think it is the future, and it will be happening in the next, few years, and we're going to see it more and more as it becomes more widely regulated. But that is why it's so important, in my opinion, to be able to have your fiat and your payment systems and your back offices running smoothly, efficiently, with almost no human touch, and completely automating it. So then you have the resources and you have the people power and the strategists who can then move forth with some of these other things that are coming down the pipeline. So it's really interesting things for me to be listening to, but it just makes me think how much there's a need to not put any people power towards the back end office, so you can concentrate on these more strategic moves.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're going to be leaving fiat anytime soon. I mean, I like generally, like I don't. If anything, it makes you just more aware of the adoption rates and where we are with adoption. We still have quite a ways to go before it is fully adopted by everyone. I mean, I can think of many conversations I've had, definitely this past Christmas, of NFTs and cryptocurrency that descended into chaos because I introduced something that seemed foreign and unnecessarily complex. But I think, again, as we're having this conversation, it really is about future-proofing your business, and allowing you to gain access or information about how you can begin to step into the next phase of the internet.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And travel has evolved in so many different ways. You think back to a few decades ago when I couldn't book travel without a travel agent. And it's because I didn't have access to the information. I couldn't find out what I could do. I didn't know how to price something, and how many disruptors have happened in the last couple of decades that enable consumers to just be so much more educated. And so now we have to keep up as a travel sector with being able to accommodate those needs. But we've got to pull that brain power and that operational power from somewhere. So we've got to automate everything else.
Yeah. I would just like to contribute there that the truth is that cryptocurrencies or digital assets are still not a medium of exchange. Most of the people see them as an asset, and as an asset that you want to keep for the long term, especially those that bought Bitcoin or Ethereum a long time ago. I wouldn't exchange it for anything, right? Because it's an asset that is growing and growing. Now we're going to have stable coins that might probably, and then we probably just want to have CBD, central digital coins from the federal governments and so forth. That then it might take a little bit of better adoption on that side. But since we are in this middle between fiat and crypto, what do we continue with Jeannie? Jeannie, maybe if you give us kind of a little review of the growth of payments in travel, maybe we can find some similarities there of what's going to happen with crypto around travel. Who knows? But maybe just tell us a little bit of how do you see the evolution of payments in travel?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, going back to what I was saying a little bit before, how we consume travel as a society has changed so much. And with that changes payments and how we need to look at our partner systems. People are more educated. And so we have to create, more user-friendly, innovative platforms that forego the use of human intervention, like a travel agent potentially, but will keep you just as organized and give you just as special of an experience as if you were interacting with a human. Which means then we have to innovate and automate the back end while keeping a very best in class experience for both the consumers as well as the partners who support all of these great disruptive platforms. Without partners, if you are an operator, for example, we'll look at Peak.com, who is a customer of Tipalti's. They're making 4,000 payments to partners around the world every single day. And they range from one person, in Guatemala, who's a local, they do their own tours, to the big companies where they're paying out lots and lots of different tours. And so you have to be able to accommodate the needs of every single one of those partners. And historically it was, hey, you can have cash or you can have a check, and that's it. And getting the information and where my payment is and the visibility and transparency was almost null. And now partners are wanting that transparent, visible, best-in-class experience And they want it now, and they want it to be really easy, and they want to have lots of different choices. So when it comes to payments, you're having to offer lots of different methods. You're having to offer global access to all sorts of different partners around the world, but you have to do it while remaining compliant across the globe and making sure that you're following all the regulations. So it's a very, critical piece, and it's hard to be in the middle of that and ensure you do all of it very, very well, and that nothing breaks the chain. So from a payments perspective, I think businesses that are using automation that can offer all of those choices and offer the visibility, that then enables them to try new revenue streams, to add more to their business, to go out and try new initiatives and be more strategic, because everything else is automated and they don't have to worry about it. So I think that's really the big things that have changed. They have to be disruptive with their back end by automation as they do on the front end to serve the consumers and to serve their partners in the best way possible.
Excellent. Great. We have a question from the audience that I think it would be pretty cool if Kristina can answer it. It says, how is the blockchain helping the end user, traveler, preserve their privacy? How's blockchain?
Yeah. It really is. The blockchain in and of itself is meant for anonymous use, right? That is the true nature of it. So when you're doing any kind of transactions, unless you have a person's wallet address, it really is difficult to tie it to their identity. And I know sometimes when you hear that, people normally go to a more nefarious use of blockchain, but that is necessarily true. Because what it also does is that by the system in and of itself, it's creating transaction hashes where you're able to really follow each transaction. So there is a way for you to determine as to what things are happening, but we don't have your name and address and location necessarily tied to it. So as a traveler in particular, you're able to move in any kind of currency you want to, not being tied by your location. If you're in a particular country that's having difficulty getting access to another country's particular currency, using blockchain technology and cryptocurrency allows you to be able to, go from one currency to another and allowing you that freedom to go in and out. Especially if you're of the mind that your or that particular government is just having difficult relations with another, that allows you to at least move a little bit freer. Another way is that if a particular company has incorporated blockchain into their system, that also allows you another level of privacy. One thing that we've been really mindful of, because of the fact that we're using ML to get a better understanding of our users, we are creating a system where your data follows you. We don't keep it. So it allows a greater sense of security that you don't have to fear that if we were ever hacked internally, that your information would be compromised. Your information is staying with you in your wallet when you connect in. So there are a number of things that I think a lot of companies are going to look at, definitely from a public blockchain perspective and a private blockchain perspective, at just securing information a lot better than what we have initially.
Yeah, can I just jump in on one thing there as well? There is a possibility in the future, right, where you could, in a blockchain wallet, own a reservation to a hotel. So you could have, your right to stay in room 345 for a certain set of nights be in a blockchain wallet that you're holding, and that's anonymous. So in theory, you could then show up to a hotel with that and check in and just use your pass to get into to check in. The realistic fact is that pretty much every locality has requirements that force you to disclose your identity. So there really is no, whether or not the blockchain can protect your privacy, anything you're going to do for hospitality, somebody's going to want to know your real name. They're going to see ID. They're going to know, they're going to see your passport. Otherwise, you're not going to get into the facility. So So I'm not, to the extent that if you're trying to protect privacy in terms of like, nobody knows who I am, I can go stay in a room without having to tell people who I am. That's probably never going to happen in that respect. Just because the local rules will probably never allow for that.
Yeah, and I just want to add a little bit more things there. As things go on and progress, there is a part of the technology called zero knowledge base, which is undeveloped, and it's basically you controlling your data and your information and deciding what part of that data you want to disclose. So, for example, in a bar, right? You just need to show with the NFT or with the blockchain something in a user interface that you are over 18 years of age without actually saying how old you are, without giving them your ID so that they can see it, make a copy of it, many things they can do with that ID. So you're just displaying information that is required, but not the whole data that is behind it. So along the road, there might be also opportunities to have your passport information in blockchain. And then when you go to your hotel, you just might be able to disclose exactly the information that they need without disclosing everything. So that's zero knowledge base around the blockchain technology that is hardcore working on to come up with a very interesting propositions as well.
And I mean, there is also the element too of that, even as you're buying crypto, there is still the element of KYC, so which is know your customer. And so there is still a level of information that you still have to give in order for you to participate. Definitely dependent on the country that you are from and where you're trying to buy that cryptocurrency. So there are levels, to everyone's point, there are levels of anonymous actions that you can take, but there is still some element of tying it back to your identity that still has to be identified, unless there's new regulation that will come in at some point. But I highly doubt there's not a government in this world that's going to allow anyone to say, oh no, you can do whatever you want. We're never going to tie it to you ever.
Yeah. Let's get to the legal conversation at the end. I finalized with the NFTs. I think there is a question here to be answered still by Lyon, which says, how can NFTs drive hotel revenue and improve the hotel experience? I think we have covered a lot, but maybe there are pieces that we have missed. So Lyon, would you give us some light there, please?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just tell you one thing that we're working on. This is still hasn't been proven yet, but this is where I think if there's a place I think in the short term hotels can make really potentially additional revenue from the NFT piece, it's on this use case. And this use case is there's increasing interest from people with the ability to tokenize time. What that means is if you're doing something, if something's happening, to be able to create a tokenized representation of it. So basically memorabilia, digital memorabilia, pictures, video, whatever, but to have that time stamped in such a way that proves that you were really there at that real time. And so, for example, one hotel we're talking to has a very kind of exclusive show in Vegas that's people want to get into. It's a very exciting thing. They're very interested in the ability for people to be able to come out of that and have that digitally signed by the hotel. So they create a photo of themselves in the experience, and the hotel digitally signs it. And what that means is that when we say digitally signs, that means that on the blockchain, there's a record written to the blockchain with a timestamp. So it's in a certain block. So it's in a timestamp record that's signed by the hotel, which means that basically cryptographically they're putting their exclusive signature on it. It says, in this case, Jhon was really there. He did this. This is his exclusive experience, and we're signing that he was really at this event. And so you can have a picture of yourself at this very cool event, and then you have it digitally signed by the hotel, timestamp that you were really there at that real time. So if you're going to go brag to your friends, which some people like to do when they go to cool places, if you're going to go brag to your friend you're someplace, you were really there. And I think there's some story that I can't remember which, it's like a Boston Red Sox baseball game. I think Babe Ruth, whatever, famous home run or something. And like the stadium had there were only 3,000 people in the stadium, and something like 300,000 people claimed to have been there to watch that game. And so it's one of the things where, there's a lot more people when something happens, they claim to have been there, to have that exclusive signed thing that says you were there is something very special. And so that's that's one thing that we've ended up building, but there's been a lot of interest in this ability to take a moment in time and turn into a non-fungible token where you then have this digitally signed memorabilia. What's really cool about this, so first of all, you do that, so you can sell that. So this particular hotel can sell, for $50, this digital memorabilia, which is completely exclusive. You can share it on your social networks. You can have it forever, and it always shows you were really there. It's your souvenir that really proves you were there at the time. It's digital, so that's additional revenue. The cool thing about NFTs beyond that, in general, is that you can have what's called smart contracts built into them. So you can have actual language built into it that creates different types of functionality, and that can be used to create royalty. There's a bunch of use cases for these smart contracts, but one is for hotels, is you can build promotional language into that particular thing. So that particular person who went to that event, got the NFT, is sharing it with their friends. The first 3 people that interact with it and come back to the hotel to buy something through that could get 15% off, or they get some other kind of promotion. They can even build in promotion where anytime somebody shares that with somebody else and somebody buys something, a royalty goes to the creator of the NFT. So if I'm a big influencer, I'm an influencer, and I do something and I create this NFT, I share it with all my friends. They all want to go do it. They all want to go visit the hotel and go do this. They can all go through, click through that. And in fact, you can set up essentially when they pay 10%, that's immediately sent right to that influencer, and they get guaranteed 10% royalty on any booking by doing this. So it creates all these kind of, and nobody really understands how it's going to look. But this type of NFT space starts to create this ability to create these little micro markets and little micro channels of marketing, where a certain single person is basically marketing to their own little group of people and sharing their experience, and they can get rewarded, or their people in their group can get special promotional value that nobody else gets through that special small channel. So that's where I really think hotels are going to A, drive more revenue in the future, and B, start to get into the ability to kind of have micro market, very focused marketing on very small groups, where I want to give this particular customer that has this particular network access to promotion that is just for his network, essentially, because they're only going to see it through his social media. And that's all, it's its infancy, but that's really where I think that the NFT space is going to go in terms of hotels going to drive new revenue and drive new marketing opportunities.
And it's not only for hotels. That exactly what you said.
No,
apply for, let's say there is a new cruise line coming up. Let's say there is a new brand activity.
If you go to a Broadway show, right? You go to the Broadway show, you go see Hamilton, right? You spend a fortune to buy that ticket. You want to tell the world you were there. So you go and you get your NFT at Hamilton. It's signed by Hamilton. That says you were there on August 5th. You were at that show. That's something that potentially you're going to want to keep forever, and you're going to display and share with your friends. That's something that has value to people.
Totally. Very, very good point. Love it. Alrighty. I think they just use the last minutes to maybe just give an idea, since we have Kristina here, about because there is also this question about the legal side, right? Legal stuff. Even we have our President Biden in the U.S. coming up yesterday with, we have been waiting for this from the government, and it seems like now the question is not if crypto is going to be banned, but how are we going to make it actually work within the lines of legality? So, which is a very great progress for the innovation. But yeah, let's be aware, as Lyon explained before, there's a lot of projects out there. There's a lot of projects out there since 2010 and 11. Mm-hmm. They did not come up into the legality and didn't follow KYC and so many things, and they actually were selling kind of securities and XYZ. So let's just be aware. Things are getting better, I think. But Kristina, would you spend some time there giving us some of your background lines?
Yeah. So it's a very interesting time for compliance on a whole. One thing, as you mentioned, is that there's this now new executive order in the U.S. regarding the orders now to start the process of regulating what cryptocurrency is looking like. And mostly it is a reaction to a number of rug pulls or scams that are happening within the space. Largely, I think it's because of the inexperience of new people coming into the space and being told of a certain project, and that project, of course, not actually coming to fruition, and then they're left with these particular coins that are not valuable at all. They have no value whatsoever. It's going to be interesting now that a number of things have been passing within the US, and I'm sure there are going to be other countries who will probably follow suit about the onus on the government to deem certain cryptocurrencies as actual currency that will be recognized by that government. And we're going to see a lot of lobbyists, because there are already banks who have already started to put in place blockchain technology to use within their financial operations. We're already seeing a number of companies who are also implementing different blockchain solutions. So it's going to be an interesting stance that governments are going to have to do to figure out how much they're really going to get involved in it. Because as many of you know, the idea of the reason why blockchain was created was because it was anti-government. So, there's going to be really interesting space, I think, in the next year or so as we do this dance to figure out what happens. KYC being a very big portion of that too. So putting the onus on companies to figure out who your customers are if they are going to participate in some sort of cryptocurrency is going to definitely come through. The amount that people are making money off of these small projects, I think we're going to see a lot of micro projects that are going to boom in the space of also having an element of KYC implemented in their system is going to happen as well too, because we're seeing millions of dollars being made in the NFT space. So the government is definitely going to want to get their portion of the cut for any money that's being made in that regard. And then of course there's this concern that cryptocurrency is being used for illegal activity. And I think, as we have these conversations, we also have to be mindful of the fact that these kind of conversations are not new. We've had these kind of conversations before when we begin to implement online payment systems back in the early days, when we were trying to figure out how we were going to conduct ourselves on the internet when looking at these spaces. We shouldn't necessarily write off blockchain and cryptocurrency as just being something illegal. And so, it is the few bad actors who are the loudest. Meanwhile, the majority of the ecosystem actually is functioning in a very honest way. So I think there's a lot of new education that has to come into government systems as they're trying to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to conduct themselves in this space. There are a number of lobbyists and special interest groups who are coming into the space to try to protect the anonymity of blockchain. So it's going to be, I've said interesting a lot, so it's going to be fun. Let's just say that for a lack of a better word.
Thank you so much, Kristina. That was very insightful, very good, really cool. Alrighty, so let's start wrapping up. I think we have covered a lot of from metaverse, NFTs, legal stuff, a little bit on payments. Anyone want to share final words? Each of you guys want to share final words, closing words?
Well, I'll just say, to give it, I mean, there are things that companies could do right now who are strictly in Web 2 that you could begin to explore, again, what Web3 is going to look like for you, to see how you can speak to particular communities. So for instance, the VVIP community is 15,000 strong just literally in the past 2 weeks as we begin to offer these different opportunities to provide companies with a way to sell whatever that they are selling. And we're really doing it in a way that you don't necessarily have to implement new infrastructure to be a part of a Web3 community. We will actually take care of that for you. So I think there are a number of things that you could do to begin doing, I think, really low cost solutions to get yourself a presence in Web3 as you begin to explore and do so. And definitely begin to think about how to future proof your business. It is not going away. It is not a fad. It is not something that is just a buzzword, really. In actuality, it really is going to be the next evolution of the internet. And so you don't want to be that brand that becomes the old fogey that Gen Z and Gen Alpha, for that matter, the children of millennials, will look at with disdain. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd say, for me, Web3 is going to be a continuous evolution of Web2 in the sense that the distance between the hotel or hospitality provider and their travelers, they get smaller and smaller. So if you compare, say, your travel experience prior to the internet versus now, you had an experience where you found the hotel name in some kind of book. You maybe saw 4 or 5 cents of it, maybe saw a photo. You knew nothing about the hotel till you got there. You showed up, and it was a discovery. You had no idea what it was like. And now we're at a place where you have OTAs. You can go look at a few photos. They're very curated. You can read some reviews. So you have some idea of what your hotel is. You have a pretty good idea of what you're getting into before you get to the hotel. But still, even in today's experience, booking a hotel room is one of the few experiences we do online. You don't really know what you're getting. Like you book a hotel, you do your research, and you still kind of hold your breath when you open that hotel door because you don't exactly know what's going to be inside that room when you get there. Our belief is that the move to Web3 is going to close that gap even more, so that the communication between the hotel and the traveler as they're getting ready to travel is going to become tighter and tighter. It's going to move beyond just this existing kind of text message on occasion to where you're going to really have a community that you can interact with. And that critically, people are going to know your hotel inside and out before they arrive because they're going to have the ability with the technology available to essentially teleport around. So in the same way in the metaverse, you can move around spaces. We think when people are saying they want to go to San Francisco or they want to go to wherever, they're going to be able to go stand in the street outside your hotel. They're going to be able to walk virtually into the lobby of your hotel, look at there. They're going to be able to see video from 10 different sources of people showing what's going on in the club that night or the restaurant or the lobby. They're going to have access to huge amounts of information, which means if you have a low quality hotel product that you've been able to kind of fool people with curated photos and things like that, that is going to disappear. People are, again, the information is going to close more and more. People are going to have a real control of their value. They're going to know exactly what they're spending with their money. And they're going to know that when they open that door to the hotel room, they're going to know exactly what they are getting because they've been in that hotel room before. They've stood in it in 3D spaces, seen that room. They know where they're spending the week with the family. They already know their kids are going to sleep on that bed. They're sleeping on this bed. Their wife's going to be in that closet. I'm going to be using these drawers. They're going to know that space before they ever arrive. That is going to be a major change in the way. And hotels that have poor quality services, have poor quality communication, have poor quality kind of amenities and room quality are going to get exposed. And the ability to kind of hide that behind the current marketing tools you have is going to disappear, I think. And that's really going to be what I think is going to be potentially the biggest change.
Sounds good. Really, really detailed. Thank you so much. Very good to the point.
I just wanted to say thank you again for having me here. One last piece, I think, is listening to all of the innovative and disruptive things going on. I would just leave you with it's imperative to have the people power and to be able to focus on those strategic initiatives by making sure that what you're doing today is locked in and efficient as possible. So thank you again for having me.
Perfect. And from my side, thank you so much to the panelists. I mean, we had an amazing time. We share a lot of knowledge, a lot of new things that are going to come up. We're inviting hotels, airlines, activities, cruises, everyone to pay attention, get on board, start preparing because it is coming. And I think we just have Natalia from Travel Tech.
Hello. Thank you very much to all. Thank you for being part of Travel Tech. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your time in this amazing educational event to our trade. was a pleasure have you. Thank you for this close of Travel Tech US and Canada. And I hope you have you all at giving and provide a masterclass at Travel Tech Academy. And I will communicate with you after the event. So thank you, Kristina. Thank you, Lyon. Thank you, Jhon, for your moderation. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Tipalti, for being a sponsor of Travel Tech. And see you on May. We have Travel Tech in Brazil and Portugal. So this week we have more than 3,000 people attending these panels of Travel Tech. So thank you very much to all. Thank you, the attendees. And it was a pleasure have you. This forum was amazing about NFT Web3. The future of the industry was here. So thank you very much. And I hope you see you all on the next edition.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
very much.
Bye-bye.
See you all.